Hey everybody, hope everyone's doing well. Wanted to reconnect on liabilities of whiteness. We today are going to talk about how whiteness restricts our ability to see and be comfortable with all of humanity. Restricts our ability to see and be comfortable with all of humanity. I wrote these down, for me as I was examining whiteness for myself and how I walk the world as a white person and how whiteness has shown up on me and affected my understanding, the way that I thought, the way that I lived, things that I believed, things that I was curious about and questions. And, when I wrote this in 2016, there's just so much more hate that now I see, that now we all see every day. And that is especially to our LGBTQ family, individuals, people, and specifically Black LGBTQ people that are experiencing such hate, but terrorism, murder, and oppression, and even in their own families. And again, this is attributed largely to our white supremacist, patriarchal, Christian, racist, capitalist system. And so really examining whiteness and thinking about how it restricts our ability to see Black trans women as human beings, as women, is such a loss. It's really such a liability. Not for the Black trans woman, for sure. But I'm sure in a way, how she feels. But for us white people who don't identify as LGBTQ, or maybe we do, and we harbor some of these prejudices and lack of being able to really see and honor people's humanity, who they are, who they want to be, their authentic selves, and somehow this veil of whiteness gives us some type of justification and permission to hate, to disregard, to disrespect, and not to be comfortable with all of humanity. Is, again, if you listen to so many of James Baldwin, his speeches, his books, his interviews, he tells us such point blank about how whiteness infects our soul and how our humanity, our own love for ourselves, our own feeling of self-love, self-worth is so impacted by the system of white supremacy and patriarchy, and obviously all the forms of oppression that have literally been added into this. I hate to even call it a brilliant system, but it is, in a sense, because it is so intertwined into all of our beings. And for us white people to realize that our humanity is being suppressed in this system, that we are not even comfortable, that we cannot even see or accept other human beings who we might not even know, and gives us, this whiteness gives us the ability to to criticize, to reject, to exclude, to use our power and privilege, our money, to have laws written against LGBTQ people, and specifically, people of color, immigrants, with the hate that you see every single day. And the media does not help with this, because they put out these headlines that are just so terrorizing and dehumanizing, and can be so hurtful. I can't even imagine how it must feel for some people to read some of these headlines. And again, these stories and the actual truth of what's happening. But I guess, I ask you, how you show up in the world, your authentic self. As Toni Morrison says, do you have to make someone else, look small in order to stand tall, right? To feel good about yourself. Do you need to have someone else on their knees in order to be tall? And I think that's something, as specifically white people, I'm not saying that all people don't need to, examine, our sense of self, but as we all do. But it's so important that we love ourselves, give our permission to love ourselves. Because I honestly feel that if we love ourselves, then we will love everyone else. Because I know that you can't love anyone else if you don't love yourself. How can you give love and show love when you don't even feel that you deserve that yourself, right? And you're not even giving that to yourself, right? And so I think that's what, again, James Baldwin talks about, that if we give up our hate, that all we'll be left with is the pain. And there's so much truth to that there's so many of us that have experienced, trauma and abuse, again, in our own families, right? And that combined with society sort of putting us, in these boxes and sort of how you're supposed to be, how you're not supposed to be, especially as women, and again, specifically white women, how we, again, are oppressed. We are oppressed in this patriarchal white supremacist system. We uphold white supremacy. We need to look at that, why we do that. But I think a lot of it goes back to our insecurities, that again, we can certainly find those out in the world, but we can find love within ourselves. And I think that part of our self-reflection on whiteness and really trying to examine how whiteness affects us, we have to do a deep dive about how or do I love myself? Do you love yourself? Because that's where the work needs to begin, to be totally honest. Because once you love yourself, love who you are, love everything about you, no matter how you show up in the world, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. And so love on yourself, because once you feel that, then your connections and relationships to everyone else is going to fall into place. And so what work do we need to do in our self-reflection and our heart work, right? Get out of our head, not sort of what you think, but how you feel, right? Really reflect on all the ways that you feel, how you feel about yourself, how you walk the world, again, is going to make you a better person and more able to stay in this very difficult work of striving to be anti-racist, but we need you. We need you to love yourself in order for you to love us and love everyone else. And so that work is so very important. So I encourage you to do that. It's hard. It is not easy. But you do have the power and the privilege to love on yourself and to find that within yourself, because that will really help you to better understand these liabilities of whiteness and really help you to understand why it's so important that we reflect on these and that we begin towards action, towards change, towards speaking up, towards showing up, towards having these conversations, towards giving people the right to be who they are, and however that is and however that shows up, because everyone is beautiful. Everyone has a place, in this world, and will be a better place if we all start understanding that. But we must start with loving yourself.